in competition in Guntersville. Jeff Bernard was behind the wheel, and that was the plan for the weekend. Driving the Goodman Real Estate Presents Miss HomeStreet. It was a different hydroplane than the one we have here. I call this one the Blue Rocket, or the powder blue one. This was the black and gold boat. But the points were accumulated for the Miss HomeStreet. But Jimmy Shane didn't get the points because he only drove in one heat. Therefore, we have a little bit of fruit salad when it comes to the team national high points race and the drivers national high points race. Looking at each of them individually, J. Michael Kelly, driver of the U8, the Miss Tri-Cities, is our current leader in the high points driver championship. How close is it? Kelly holds a 210-point lead on Jimmy Shane. I mentioned earlier there are 1,700 points on the table this weekend, so anything can happen in that particular race. As for the team standings, the defending champion Miss HomeStreet has an 819-point advantage over the U8 Miss Tri-Cities. So the HomeStreet has got the 819-point lead on the field, and it is the U8 Miss Tri-Cities in second place. And so we'll keep track of those points during the weekend, because the Miss HomeStreet, as we always say, is the U1. U1 means they are the defending national high points champion. They want to keep that one on the deck, and it appears as though they also want to be the first boat out in this test session, because the lid is down. And here he goes. He is spooling up the Miss HomeStreet. It is Jimmy Shane, the defending national high points champion in the Miss HomeStreet. So with the exception of Kelly Stockland in the 440, the bucket list racing, we have all of our H1 Unlimiteds in the water right now. Reminder to our fans here, this is not a qualification effort right now. This is a test session. And we are being told that the H1 Unlimiteds are coming out on the water one at a time previously, and this morning we were able to run three at a time, but they're going to allow them to come out one at a time for testing right now. I've not yet been advised the reason for that, but that's okay. They are out here one at a time. They're coming very slowly up the backstretch in lane number one. Jimmy Shane, the Miss HomeStreet, currently with an 819-point lead in the team national high point standings. Jimmy Shane 210 points behind J. Michael Kelly in the driver's standings. And if you think Jimmy Shane could have a pretty good and historic weekend here, as we watch Jimmy, see if he doesn't put his foot in this thing and run it down the start-finish line and get a good timing run. We saw the GPs doing that earlier, timing themselves from point A to point B. I thought Jimmy might come off the corner there and hammer it. He did not. That's not to say it is still not a timing run, just maybe a set of timing marks from various points on the race course. But back to a little bit about Jimmy Shane. In July on the Ohio River in Madison, Indiana, Jimmy Shane claimed his 5th Gold Cup. It was a big deal because winning 5 Gold Cups tied him with the legendary Gar Wood, who also won 5 Gold Cups. Gar Wood did it in his Miss Detroit, Miss America hydroplanes from 1917 to 1921. I thought it was interesting. 100 years after Gar Wood got his 5th, Jimmy Shane got his. Boy, you see him slam it to the left just as he got to the entrance buoy. And he's going to come off the corner hard now and run it down to start finish. And this timing run started a long, long time ago. I believe it started when he cut the course and went to the backstretch. He started to put his foot in it, and he wanted to see how long it would get him from point A to point B. Jimmy Shane, 5-time Gold Cup champion, tied the legendary Gar Wood, the Gray Fox of Algonac, tied him with 5 Gold Cups, 100 years.
Well, Brad, you talk about the history of hydroplane racing, and the boat that's out on the water is one of our newest boats out on the fleet. In 2018, we christened that at Tri-Cities test session. Jimmy Shane's done some adjustments to the boats, and he has done it well. Look at him come down that backstretch. Looks like he might be doing one more timing run, taking advantage of having the whole course to himself. Brad, we've talked about these timing runs, and each driver comes out with their own set of timing runs. But as you know, Brad, another boat out on the course could change that up. They have to go with Plan B.
Well, you're exactly right, Kay. You can go out there with all the best intentions, and then you've got yourself timed. You want to be in lane 2, and then you get there and find, oh, somebody else is already there. Again, for our new fans, we fight for lanes. Your lanes are not assigned when you leave the pit area. You go out and you jockey for them or fight for them.
That would be the race before the race, as you've called it many times in the past.
So I mentioned that Jimmy Shane won his 5th Gold Cup and tied legendary Gar Wood. On that list for a number of Gold Cup wins, there are others with more. Chip Hanauer leads that group with 11 Gold Cups. But when you start talking about National High Points Championships, Jimmy Shane, the boat is leading in the team National High Points. Jimmy himself is 210 points behind J. Michael Kelly. Jimmy Shane has won 6. If he were to pull it off this weekend and win his 7th, he would tie a couple of guys by the name of Hanauer and Muncie, and that's pretty good company, Kay Brewer.
And I'm standing down here by the Muncie Memorial, and you and I have talked about this numerous times. You are just a youth of knowledge. I want to ask you one technical question. When was the last time that Bill Muncie won at this race? Can you bring that out of your book of knowledge?
I'm working on it.
Are you Googling that on your phone?
No, I'm not on my phone. Like I tell people at my age, the information's all in there. It's just a filing system that's all messed up. I cannot tell you that.
Well, we'll leave that up to our fans. That's a great opportunity for you to go look that up and see the history of hydroplane racing from back in 1958 when they started to build this right here in San Diego. In 1958, Brad, that's when Bill Muncie had the great idea to bring hydroplane racing here to San Diego.
Yeah, he did. He was very instrumental in doing it. Back to when he won last here in San Diego, I can tell you it was not in 1981. I know he did not win it here in 81. His boat sunk, and they were really thrashing back in the Northwest in the Seattle area to get the boat ready for the World's Championship race in Acapulco, Mexico in October of 1981. So I got a couple dollars I'm putting on the table and saying Bill Muncie's last victory here would have been 1980.
All right, well, that's to our race fans here in San Diego. And those that are listening at home, that's your job. I want to see how many of you can look back in history and see Muncie's memorial trophies. How many does he have? That's a good thing for people to do. Check out the history of hydroplane racing.
Well, and I know you're over there by the Bill Muncie Memorial, and there is a tremendous quotation there from Bill, and I won't try and quote it, but I can get kind of close and paraphrase it as I think I just saw Kay sprinting to a point where she can read what it says, but Bill had something or a quote to the effect, I'm living life to the fullest, I'm running and playing with all the other kids that I know.
Well, you're pretty close. Just running and playing like the kids I know. Bill Muncy, 1928 to 1981. If you get the opportunity to come down here and see this, the Muncy Memorial, it's a great tribute here to San Diego.
Well, not to get personal about it here, but when I got into town yesterday and got here to the pit area, that was about the first place I went. I went over and paid homage to Mr. Muncy and that beautiful memorial there with the Atlas Van Lines colors on the top, the two-tone blue. Jimmy Shane down at the very, very bottom end of the race course. He certainly had a fair amount of time out on the water. He's done some timing marks, done some testing. We'll see where he goes now. He's drifting out to quite wide, going out about lane 5, maybe 6, as Jimmy Shane comes off the I-5 corner down there. Kay Brewer, now I know where you are. You're at the Muncy Memorial. He does not appear to be going very fast, but it's a gorgeous view as he comes right toward you.
It is a perfect opportunity for all of our fans to come down to the beach line, but we do remind you that you may not be swimming in the water. We do ask you to stay out of the water. That's for your safety and the safety of the drivers. But bring your cameras out. Post your pictures on Facebook, all your social media.
Kay Brewer, for our fans that are listening, Jimmy has been on the clock while he's been out there, and he was doing some timing runs. He cut the course one time, so he wasn't necessarily putting his foot down in it. However, his second complete lap on the clock, 163.016 miles an hour. 163. That's moving, Kay.
Step up. That is a huge step up from his 161. Coming out here to make a statement is Jimmy Shane. He wants to keep that one on there, like you said. I'm going to go down there and go talk to Jimmy and ask him what he changed between the last test session and this one.
Kay will run down and grab Jimmy, and the motor has been shut off in that beautiful powder blue and white Miss HomeStreet, and away from the dock right now as the turbine begins to spool in the orange and black U40 of Kelly and Sharon Stocklin, the Beacon Plumbing. The lid is down. The boat is just now barely beginning to move. The propeller begins to spin. And Dave right now is not able to get away from the dock. It started to move. He is still right there. He's getting some hand signals, and here he comes. I think they were just trying to make sure that the rear end of the boat was not going to hit the dock, and it kind of drifted a little bit. And a couple of crew members got a hold of the fairings on the left side, made sure he was clear of the dock, and Dave will walk. The winningest driver in the history of H1 Unlimited Racing. Now the fans are having a good time here in the pit area. Watch the crew try and get the line to Jimmy Shane. Standing out in front of the HomeStreet. Oh, and it falls short again. Meanwhile, up the backstretch, here comes Super Dave. And the U40, the Beacon Plumbing, and Dave's got the candle turned up. He's got the wick on it. Look at him fly, the U40, the Beacon Plumbing. Nobody could fly a race boat better than Dave Villwalk, and he hung the right sponson as he came up that backstretch.
Well, Brad, I'm lucky enough to live probably about 5 miles away from the Bucket List shop. I drive by often, and I can see those guys working all the time on these boats, trying to get that extra mile per hour. We got ourselves a veteran driver out there. 67 wins is what he has underneath his belt of Dave Vilwalk out here on the water with Beacon Plumbing. It's going to be good to see him out here again, giving some competition to Jimmy Shane, to Jamie Nielsen, J. Michael Kelly. We got some great drivers out here today. I'm excited, Brad.
Yeah, we really do, and certainly one of the very finest out here. As I said, the winningest most. Nobody has ever driven a hydroplane faster than Dave Vilwalk, be it in a straight line or on a race course.
We talked to him earlier, 173 miles an hour across water. I could not imagine being inside of that little tiny cockpit doing 173 miles an hour. He just looked at me and said, it's no big deal.
Well, and if he's running 173 miles an hour, that is an average speed on the lap. So just imagine how fast he was going at the top end of the straightaways. We talked about it a little bit earlier. That was when there was an unrestricted fuel flow, but I don't care what asterisk you want to put by it. That is flat moving. You see Dave down at the bottom end of the race course. Kay, you talk about driving by their shop. Oh, look at him tighten it up there to about lane number 2, maybe 2.5. Dave's got a better line through here. We're going to be watching some of the speeds as they come across, because that last lap was fairly hot. 157.844 for Dave on that one. He's pulled his foot now as he comes up the back chute. I know these guys did a lot of work over the last couple of months and got some new technology they want to test and try. They got new parts to throw at them this weekend.
And a lot of knowledge inside of that shop. You and I both know Dave Vilwalk, he's got a lot of history, but we also have Kelly Stockland in there, all working fiercely on these boats. And they have, like I said, Brad, I don't know, maybe you and them, between that, you guys could make a winning boat together with all the knowledge that you have and they do.
I can talk history. They can talk technology. Big difference. I think you got a shot there to grab Jimmy Shane, at least in a minute. He's talking with his crew chief, Mike Hansen. And I know you're waiting patiently there, Kay. As soon as Jimmy breaks free there, just break in. Meanwhile, we'll check on Dave and see what he's doing. Dave Vilwalk, I mentioned it earlier today. He has won on this race course 9 times. Nobody else comes close to it.
That's something to brag about right there. 9 times a victory.
Yeah, I got another little piece of trivia for you.
Okay.
Dave Vilwalk is one of, I think, 4 people, and we've been arguing about whether or not it's 4 or 5, but he's one of a very small number of people who won the first ever race that he ever drove an unlimited in. I think you got a partner right there to talk to. Jimmy, have a conversation with Kay Brewer.
All right, so we've got you up here. You've discussed some of your plans, your strategy. Obviously, you've stepped things up between this morning and this afternoon. You got 2 more miles per hour. What did you guys make? What changes did you make?
We didn't change a thing, nothing at all.
You just hammered it down. Are you teasing the competition out there?
If everything's working, then we don't need to change anything. Then why wouldn't we do that? No, I'm just joking. We made a bunch of changes between the first and the second sections. Working on boat handling, and we had to tune the engine a little bit, and I think it was happy. It liked where it was in that test session, and I think we got ourselves a really fast race boat this weekend.
Well, are you happy with the 163, or do you plan on going back out again later on this afternoon?
We're good. I think we're going to save the equipment and focus on qualifying next, and we'll see what kind of speed we can lay down for qualifying.
All right, well, we'll look forward to seeing you out there, maybe bumping it up from a 165.
I'll let you know after I run.
All right, well, good luck later on this afternoon. That's Jimmy Shane, HomeStreet. Next over, I'm going to make my way over to the Beacon to talk to Mr. Dave Vilwalk.
Thank you, Kay. As I said, she'll be the busiest person here in Southern California. Here's a good sight, race fans, as the U11 of J&D's, the Chartreuse and Royal Blue of the J&D's hydroplane is away from the dock. They did not test this morning, so we haven't seen this boat on the water. But once you see it on the water, you will not forget it. It is extremely bright. Jamie Nielsen behind the wheel of this one. And this boat, we had the test session in the Tri-Cities of Washington in early June. And these guys really struggled. They brought the boat over. It was the first time they were going to run this particular boat after an extensive rebuild. They got to the test session. Unfortunately, they never got in the water. They went to Guntersville. They struggled again on Saturday, but they were able to run a little bit in their first heat. And since that moment, it has just gotten better and better and better. Jamie Nielsen down the front straightaway in the U11, the J&Ds.
Well, you were talking about some major reconstruction of this 11 boat. You know, Brad, let's go ahead and tell our fans, unfortunately in 2010, the front of this boat met the seawall at Detroit, Michigan. Why don't you go ahead and tell our fans what happened and the reconstruction that has been done?
Yeah, I don't know if you were in Detroit when that happened in 2010, but I think you know the driver pretty well. I think during most days you call him brother. But I won't forget that when he went through the top end of the race course in competition in second place. I believe he was on the inside at a boat about 8 boat lengths ahead of him on the outside at the apex of the rooster tail turn. And if you've ever been to Detroit, this would be the worst place on the planet for this to happen. He lost the skid fin right at the apex of the corner and immediately was coming right straight into the pit area, which is extremely close right there in Detroit. Somehow he got the boat turned to the right.
I was not there for that incident, but I was there 2 years later, and I got to see what happened close. You know, Brad, that last-minute right-hand turn saved a lot of people, but with the Unlimited Hydroplanes, that's what you go. It is all about adrenaline rush, and it is all about riding it to the edge.
Well, Kay, you're exactly right. It saved a lot of people's lives. It also changed the rules of hydroplane racing in Detroit. No longer can you have people on a boat or in a boat in the pit area when other boats are on the race course. They just flat don't allow it because there was 4 other boats or 5 other boats in the water with drivers in the cockpits, and he would have been coming right straight at him. And it was an ugly, ugly sight. And I'll never forget the moment when I watched the canopy get popped open and I realized he was going to come out of there. And it was a painful process, as you know. But he did survive that. That is the boat you are watching down at the lower end of the race course. I'm going to check a speed here, Kay.
All right, and that is all because of the hard work of Scott and Shannon Rainey and their crew of the 11 J&Ds. They have worked very hard to bring this boat back out onto the water.
They sure have, and I don't know where you are. I think you're down there trying to find Dave. If you get him, just jump in, Kay. I see you moving around down there. First lap on a clock for Jamie Nielsen, an even 150 miles an hour, 150. Color scheme a little different on the boat this year than you've seen in last year's. It used to be what we referred to as the chartreuse and carnival orange. Now it's the chartreuse and royal blue. Good looking hydroplane. Jamie pulls his foot as he comes across the line there. So not going to get a speed on that, or at least one that is worth watching.
And like you said, Brad, they're doing their timing runs. Another factor that these drivers and crew have to keep in mind is we're running on salt water. That's where you can see the big snorkel on the top. When they come down to the start-finish line, they must be out of the rooster tail of another boat because just a little bit of salt going into that turbine, that'll put you sitting in the boat on the side watching the rest of the race.
It's a good point, Kay, and actually the salt water has changed the rules of hydroplane racing for this particular event only because of the salt water. Typically the rule book says during competition, after the start of the heat, if you are going to move your boat from one leg in front of another boat behind you and on the inside, you have to have 7 boat lengths to do that. During the milling period, you must have 5 boat lengths. For this event, this weekend, you have to have a full rooster tail. And it's because of the damage the salt and the salt water can do to one of these turbine engines. So you'll have to have a full rooster tail before you can move to the left and move in on your competitor. Yeah, Jamie going very slowly through the upper corner here. See if he doesn't mash his foot in the gas right when he gets to the exit pin, time his way down to start finish. And that's not what he's going to do. A little bit about Jamie Nielsen that you may not know. Jamie Nielsen is a graduate of Central Washington University in Ellensburg, Washington, which is also in the central part of the state, not far from where Scott and Shannon Rainey reside in Cle Elum. He was quite the baseball player. Jamie Nielsen, so good, in fact, some of his records in the league still stand, and Jamie Nielsen signed a contract to get into the farm system of the Kansas City Royals.
Another part about Jamie Nielsen is he got his start in the outboard hydros, which was what we saw out here on the water. I personally got to watch him as a young 10, 12-year-old start racing the outboards, and he looked up to these unlimited drivers and said, one day, I'm going to get in one of those boats. And he was lucky enough to drive this beautiful, beautiful J&D's U11.
I always have a note from Jamie Nielsen that I keep in front of me when he is out on the race course. One of my favorite quotes from the young man is, "Become so famous in your life that someday your signature is called an autograph." I was kind of like that. Jamie decides, I thought maybe he was going to come in, but no, he's going to make another run around the race course. Meanwhile, other hydroplanes in the water. The Strong Racing contingent is in the water, both the 8 and the 9.
All right, Brad, as the lid goes down on the number 8, I saw a cute little blonde-haired girl named Miss Katie who gave the big knuckles to her dad because we've got a driver change. Kip Brown is now behind the wheel and in the cockpit of the 8.
As we stated earlier, Kay, thank you for that. Strong Racing was very happy with their results from the morning test session, but as they had announced previously, Kip Brown is the backup driver for the entire team, both the 8 and the 9. So it's only logical that he would go out and run a lap or two. He's doing that right now in the 8, so this is not unexpected. The driver of the U8 is J. Michael Kelly, but Kip Brown is behind the wheel right now as he is the backup for both boats of Strong Racing. So Kip Brown behind the wheel of a boat he has driven before. This boat was built in 2014. It was built as the U-96, the Spirit of Qatar, and it was built for Eric Elstrom and his family. Kip was named the driver. First time they ever put the boat in the water was in the Tri-Cities of Washington, and that was in 2014. Kip Brown came home in, I believe it was 3rd place. So it was a good start. And that was the 2014 Columbia race finish. Kip, as we talked earlier, A lot of time behind the wheel of this one. And the boat has just been historically very, very fast. But there was a lot of changes made to this boat after the 2014 season. The boat is much, much lighter now. I'm sure Kip is going to get a quick, kind of a rude awakening that, whoa, this isn't the same boat I remember from back in 2014. So here comes Kipper slowly up the backstretch. And that was 2014 when he jumped behind the wheel of this boat when it was a brand new one. But if you ask Kip Brown, the race he remembers the most was the 2013 Detroit APBA Gold Cup on the Detroit River when Kip Brown claimed the APBA Gold Cup. Was an absolutely fabulous boat race in the final heat. He squared off against an old friend of his, John Zimmerman, driving the U9, which is here this weekend. The boat just keeps showing up, gets rebuilt, basically a new boat from time to time. But back here is the U9, the Pinnacle Peak Consulting. Here comes Kip Brown up the backstretch, driving the beautiful U8. Miss Tri-Cities, one of two boats owned by Daryl and Vanessa Strong. Kip airing it out a little bit there, feeling a little bit more comfortable in the boat. As he goes through the upper corner, Daryl and Vanessa Strong have stepped up in a big way in the sport of H1 Unlimited Hydroplane racing, purchasing not one but two boats during the off-season, hiring Corey Peabody to drive the U9 and J. Michael Kelly to drive the U8. Both J. Michael Kelly, Corey Peabody have each won a race on the H1 Unlimited circuit this year. And J. Michael Kelly holds a 210-point lead in the National High Points Drivers Race. So to say it has been a successful first season for Daryl and Vanessa would be an understatement. Kip turned that last lap at 152 miles an hour, so I'd say he's getting his sea legs under him. Great look here. As you look right down the backstretch, you can look right underneath that hydroplane and see the air trap and see the whole concept of a three-point hydroplane as he brings it up here to the top end of the race course. Kip Brown taking some test laps here in the U8, the Miss Tri-City. Kip's next lap was almost a carbon copy of the other one, another lap at 152.
I don't know, Brad. Sounds like he's knocking on the door to that HomeStreet of 153.
If he keeps his foot in it, I'll go out on a limb here just a little bit and say this is going to be a tick faster. And I didn't even watch him come down the backstretch. I just turned my head over, and it looked like he had that right sponson and hung up in the air a little bit. That's when you know you're really moving. Kip goes across with a third hot lap in the U8, the Miss Tri-Cities. I get one right every once in a while, okay? He turned it up from 152, this time 155 miles an hour. for Kip Brown as he's pulled his foot down at the lower end of the race course.
Wow, 155. Keep in mind, folks, that's just an average. Brad, what do you think they're hitting at top speed at the end of each straightaway?
On this race course, if I had to guess, 185 miles an hour maybe. Here comes Kipper very slowly up the backstretch. I'd say, a buck 80, buck 85. And that's where you go back and you have to look at that average lap that Dave Villwalk turned back in 1999 of 173 miles an hour. How fast was he going in the chutes? You probably can't see him, Kay, but he is coming very slowly up the backstretch. The lid is down on teammate Corey Peabody in the U9 Pinnacle Peak. And we have been advised by H1, the officials, that he has radioed that he is going to come in. Looks like, he's definitely going to do it. Thus, they have given a green light to teammate Corey Peabody. Come away from the dock of the U9 to Pinnacle Peak. So Kip is off the race course now. Corey Peabody comes away from the dock. He's not yet on the race course. Technically, he does not join the race course until he goes past those white outside course markers. Corey, another young man out of the Pacific Northwest, is married to his wife Stacy. He has 3 children, daughters Riley, Layton, and son Race.
Brad, I've got Jamie. They've been having an extensive meeting with the owners. You've been fighting some gremlins this year. How are you feeling this morning and your first time out on the water here at Bayfair?
Good. I mean, they do 11 JGs. We're out there for some laps. We learned a lot. You got to start somewhere. Every race we win. I think we're at a good starting point. Scott and I, we like to make this boat better every time out. That's what we're talking about down here, and how we're going to get faster next time out. Do the same after the next run, and the next run, and the next run.
Well, you jumped up your speed about 3 miles an hour between your first lap and your second lap. What were you just doing timing runs earlier, or did you decide was the weather, was the water changing? What made you get that extra couple miles an hour?
Well, I mean, the goal of that run wasn't to lay down the fastest time we could. It was mostly to get a feel for the boat. We made a few changes after Tri-Cities. See what those were going to do boat ride-wise, and also get some timing marks. So I think we accomplished what we wanted to going out there, and I'm sure you'll see much faster times when we come qualifying.
I like that idea. I'm kind of a fan favorite of this boat. You and I both know why, but it's a beautiful boat out on the water. We'll look forward to seeing you back out here in a little bit. Jamie, we're going to walk over and see how Kip felt after getting back in the cockpit after a few years.
Corey Peabody, driver of the U9, Pinnacle Peak Consulting, began racing outboard hydroplanes. You've heard Kay talk about it today and how if you want to get started in this, starting that outboard class, that's where these guys started. He began racing outboard hydroplanes in 1998 alongside his grade school classmate and now strong racing teammate, J. Michael Kelly. They are both 42 years old. They went to kindergarten together. They've been friends forever. Now they drive for Daryl and Vanessa Strong. Corey first qualified as an H1 Unlimited driver in 2016. His first race was at the APBA Gold Cup in Detroit in that year of 2016. He was driving the U57, the Spirit of Detroit, for Ted Porter. If you remember that name, it was a 7th place finish. Corey last year drove the Graham Trucking American Dream for Rob Graham. His best finishes a year ago were a 5th place in Guntersville, and he backed it up with a 5th place here in San Diego. But he backed all of that up with his first ever H1 Unlimited win at the 2021 Columbia Cup. That was quite a win. A come-from-behind victory, had to drive behind and drive around teammate J. Michael Kelly. Corey Peabody running hard through the lower end of the race course. See what kind of a line he takes off there. Slides out to about lane, call it 3, maybe 4. Turned that last lap in an even 150.7 miles an hour. Corey, look at him fly the boat. You can look right underneath it. That's when you know you got an H1 Unlimited hydroplane running hard and fast. That big wall of water that you see come off of the trailing edge of the left side sponson, that is caused by the skid fin. That is a very large, heavy piece of aluminum or steel that keeps the boat on its line through the corner. Looks like Corey ran that one pretty hard. We'll see if he was able to improve on a 150, although remember, this is not qualifying. This is simply testing. We will go qualifying later in the day. Was it better? Oh, yeah, it was a lot better. 154.876, 154 miles an hour for Corey Peabody. He again takes the same line off the lower end of the race course, the I-5 turn, on this 2.5-mile Bill Munsey race course.
Brad Lewis, I was able to grab Kip Brown. Kip, it's been since 2014 since you've been in this particular boat. They've made some changes. First time out on the water this year. How's it feel?
Very similar to how it ran before. It's a good boat. It's solid. It doesn't do anything silly. My responsibility at that point is go feel it out and see if I feel anything glaring that maybe Mike might have missed, and that's fruitless because Mike's the best in the business. So it was cool to get in the boat and get to go run some laps. But this is Mike's boat, and there's nobody better to pilot one of these things than J. Michael Kelly.
Well, you said it perfectly. It is a lot of communication between the driver, the crew chief, the prop person. Everybody working together is what's going to get this boat out there and on the top podium. And, that is what we have all looked forward to. And Kip, you have got a lot of experience behind you and a lot of knowledge on how to feel on this boat. And that is what's great to see you back out in the water.
Yeah, I frankly prefer to be on the dock. I mean, it's where I belong now, and guys like Mike and Jimmy Shane and Jamie Nielsen, they're the heir apparents. Those are the guys that ought to be out here in these boats and wringing them out. But if I get a chance every once in a blue moon to take one out, feel it out, and see if I would make any changes personally, then hopefully that helps the team, and that's why I'm here.
Well, Kip, you have been spending your summer on the sidelines watching a very cute daughter of yours, Miss Katie. You've been doing amazing this whole year, Katie. What is your favorite part about boat racing?
Probably making them, fixing them, and just testing out.
Well, that shows, Kip. You've raced her well. You have two daughters that both race, and it's great to see both of you guys out on the course. I was lucky enough last weekend to watch you with your victory. Your first. Tell our fans at home what happens when you get your first.
When you get, it's an annual tradition in boat racing that when you get your first, they'll throw you in the water. Everybody's probably has it done to them.
Well, we liked watching you out there. It's been fun. Your dad, every time comes in, you guys got a big smile on your face. It's watching the Brown family. It's all of you guys. You guys are a great, great family. Love to see you guys out on the water. Kip Brown, once again, congratulations for getting back in the cockpit. Look forward to seeing you out there again.
Great job, Kate Brewer. Making sure you touched also family aspect. Because Kip Brown, we talk about him winning the 2013 APBA Gold Cup. He has been so successful in Region 10, driving various classes of limited inboard hydroplanes and driving flat-bottom hydroplanes or flat-bottom race boats now. But Kip Brown is most impressed and most proud of his family, as well he should be. Great job, Kay. We've got Corey Peabody, who has come back at the dock, and now Kelly Stockland is trying to fire the 440. Got a bunch of smoke coming out the back, but now the boat slowly begins to move away from the dock. Kelly Stockland, boat owner, team manager, crew chief, and now driver of the 440. Bucket List Racing. Want to remind our fans it's the HomeStreet Bank San Diego Bayfair. Our H1 Unlimiteds will be competing this weekend for the Bill Muncie Cup here on beautiful Mission Bay. The Bill Muncie race course, 2.5-mile race course that Bill loves so very, very well. The bright orange 440 Bucket List Racing. And as us announcer types like to do, we like to know the exact shade of a particular boat's color. This one is Tennessee orange. Kelly's got it up on plane. It will come down the front straightaway. Kelly was out earlier today, but unfortunately found his way back to the pit area at the end of a tow rope. His fast lap that he turned was at 138.2 miles an hour. We'll see if they have the gremlins that caused him to get introduced to a patrol boat driver the first time, see if he's able to complete the run and come back under his own power. Not running terribly strong down the front straightaway there, but now it looks like he picks it up a bit. Kelly Stockland. So Kelly Stockland in the 440 bucket list racing. Down at the lower end of the race course here, he'll come off the bottom end and come up the backstretch. It has been a tough season for the 440 bucket list team. They were in Guntersville, Alabama, and I have on my score sheet, I was there, I have that they got a did not start. They were never able to answer the bell for any of their preliminary heats. They had damage to the boat, and they threw in the towel for the following week at the Gold Cup in Madison, Indiana, so they did not race there. In the Tri-Cities, the team came up with an 8th place finish, and of course Seattle was canceled, so 1 8th place finish is about all they have to show for the 2021 season, but they have been at every race save the Gold Cup, and Kelly Stockland can be counted on for bringing his team, his 2-boat team, the other being the U40, the Beacon Plumbing, and helping fill out the fields. For our fans who are looking at this boat out on the water and going, wow, that boat just looks a little bit smaller. Well, it is. This boat was originally built in what we call a G-class hydroplane, which back in the 30s and the 20s, that meant something different than it meant back in the 2010, 2011, 2012 time frame. There was going to be a resurgence of a G-class of hydroplane. Back in the 20s and the 30s, the G-class was a gold cupper, and that's what they called the G-class hydroplane. But this was a smaller boat. It's only 28 feet long. It weighs about 4,400 pounds. It was originally built for automotive power. And Kelly and Sharon Stockland got a hold of it. They decided to put a turbine engine in it. It's a little bit smaller turbine engine. Most of our boats here will run a T55 turbine. This one is a T53. Cranks out about 1,400 horsepower, whereas the T55s that the other boats are running turns out 2,900 horsepower. So there's a substantial difference between the two. But there also is a substantial difference in the weight of the boat, and it was a concept based on power to weight ratio. And Kelly and his wife Sharon, when they formed Bucket List Racing, they had teamed together with the 440 in an attempt to promote a more economical alternative to current forms of racing. And I think they proved that you could do that. This boat has had some success. They have not claimed the winner's circle, but I was in Guntersville a couple of years ago when Dustin Eccles took the boat out and turned a qualification lap north of 150 miles an hour. So here comes Kelly up the backstretch. This has been a big project for him. He's going to race the boat this weekend because Dustin had prior commitments. He has raced this boat before, the last time in 2015. I talked to Kelly this morning about that. He said, that didn't end so well. And he goes, we learned a lot that day. He got the boat upside down on the front straightaway and blew it over in competition. It really did extensive damage to the 440. But they rebuilt it, and here they are. Kelly Stockland turned up the wick a little bit on that last lap, turned it just north of 132 miles an hour. Still coming pretty hard up the backstretch. Kelly Stockland driving the 440 Bucket List Racing. I mentioned Kelly last drove the boat in competition in 2015, but that was not the last time he was in the boat. He tested the boat in the Tri-Cities in 2018, but I believe that was the last time. So Kelly's out there now getting his sea legs back, and it looks like he's starting to improve. Last lap was the best one at 132. See if he's able to bring it up again. Turned another lap at 132 miles an hour. Kelly still running the boat pretty hard up the backstretch. He's got nobody behind him as they are lifting Grand Prix America hydroplanes presented by Knighton Industries. The GPA presented by Knighton Industries will take to the course next, and a couple of those boats are being lifted into the water now. So the course belongs to Kelly Stockland. And he just pulled his foot. I hope something didn't happen. Kelly is slowing down. He's going to try and bend this thing to the right, I think, now, and now he's outside the course marker. I thought maybe he was going to pull it to the right and see if he couldn't get it as close as possible to the pit area, but he was at least able to get the 440 off the race course. And that is an unfortunate sign right there for Kelly. He was about to complete yet another lap.
I'm going to take him out around the outside. Over there, I want to go. Doug, go ahead. For business. Please, you got a couple about ready to go here. About 2 minutes, I just wanted up big course for a little. the GP's on that code at 440 around the outside.
All right, race fans. Kelly Stockland pulled down the curtain on our H1 Unlimited test session. And now we will turn the race course over to our Grand Prix America Hydroplanes, GPA, presented by Knight Industries. If you like noise, if you like sound, here comes your race boats. First boat away from the dock, the GP20, Big Ed Preston, Blown Income Racing, owned by Larry Lynn of Olympia, Washington, which is just south of Seattle on Interstate 5. In fact, you go out there to I-5, hang a left, you'll run into Olympia at some point. The boat sponsored by the Trust Company. Coming out behind him is going to be the GP10. Check that, the GP19, Eckenberg Racing, owned by Tom Eckenberg. Driver is David Warren, sponsored by Mega Firearms and Harbor Marine. David Warren in the big white boat. Down the front straightaway as Big Ed Preston comes up the back chute. Big Ed finds a few beans in the GP20. Comes off the top end of the race course, and he's going to run it hard down the start-finish line. If you think that sounds really cool and haven't seen the GPA hydroplane race before, just imagine 6 of them side by side blowing into that first turn together. It is loud and proud. There was some question about who might be behind the wheel. There was some talk of perhaps another driver taking some test laps in the GP19. No, it is regular driver David Warren, driving a boat he likes to call Mega Firearms. Up the backstretch, Ed Preston legging out the GP20. They have got to be pleased with that run. And as I was talking this morning, these guys have really been snake bit. They've just had a tough season at every turn. And it was strange type of incidences that were happening. They had a plate on the bottom of the boat and the Tri-Cities come loose. It just went straight back and right into the rudder brackets and just destroyed some rudder brackets. And it's not the type of bracket you can just change and be ready to go. 20 minutes later, unfortunately, this took them basically a month and another couple of weeks to get these parts fabricated, get it on the boat. They took the boat to Owensboro, where they lost the escape hatch on the bottom of the boat. Did some damage to the boat, also did some damage to the driver, Ed Preston. And they really scrambled to get here this weekend, but they are here, and Big Ed has got it at the top end of the race course. David Warren up the backstretch in a boat sponsored by Mega Firearms, also sponsored by Harbor Marine. Eckenberg Racing, the GP19. David Warren returns to drive in the Grand Prix class. David Warren, and just then the boat popped when he got to the exit pin at the top end of the course. Oh, and what do we got going on with Ed over there? We've got a red flag on the course. We've got a lot of smoke. We've got a problem aboard. And you see the patrol boats going over. We have got an issue with the GP20 blown income, and you see Ed Preston jumping into the water. He does not want to be near that boat, and he's got open flame there. This is not a good situation. Ed appears to be okay. We saw him jump into the water. That is his signal to stop the racing or whatever is going on the course. They had already done that. So I think that was Ed jumping out of there for himself, just get himself to safety. But that is not a healthy situation. We'd been talking about how this team had just been snake bit this year. Every time they turned around, something difficult was happening to them, and it looks like it's continuing here on San Diego's Mission Bay. Still a lot of smoke pouring out of the GP20. The Truss Company, driven by Ed Preston, owned by Larry Land out of Olympia, Washington. Now we see the color of the smoke change. That's a good sign. But oh boy. So, race fans, we had the issue to the GP20, the truss company, our Grand Prix hydroplane. We saw with a fire issue. From here, we were able to see Ed Preston, the driver, extricate himself from the cockpit and jump into San Diego's Mission Bay. We never want to assume anything. You would assume Big Ed was okay. As a result of that, he has since been brought back to the dock here just in front of the pit tower. He is walking by himself and holding his helmet. I think it's safe to say Ed Preston is okay. The boat, that might be a different story. It is on the way being towed back to the pit area right now. We'll get a little bit of a look at it, but there was a nasty looking fire and there was an awful lot of smoke. Now there is a medical trailer by where they brought Ed Preston. I'm sure he will go in there to get officially checked out, but I think it's pretty safe to say that Ed is probably okay walking to that trailer by himself. I'm going to step away for just a moment, see if we can't get a word off microphone with either Ed or the boat owner, Larry Lynn, to get an official word, but I think it's safe to say Ed's probably okay. Maybe a different story for the GP20, the truss company.
We got it out. I'm hoping it doesn't have that integral damage.
right, as our GPs make their way back out onto the water, we're glad to see you are doing okay. We're glad to see you are all right. I've got Ed Preston here. Ed, can you tell us what happened? How did that fire start?
What we're guessing is the first panel. That's what I'm going to go back and take a look at, but that's a pretty good guess right now.
Well, we're all pretty upset. You should have seen the crowd. You should have seen everybody in the pits. Everybody was like, no, because we all know how hard you have been working this year. And last week, I know you have been grinding down to get that hatch repaired and fixed. And, you know, we're all just as disappointed as you are, but we're going to let you get back to the boat, and we're glad to see that you are okay, Ed Preston.
I appreciate that.
All right. Once again, Ed Preston is walking back to his boat. We're going to get an initial, I guess we'll find out what happened and see what the damage is and get back to you from the folks. But we're going to put our eyes back out onto the water, Brad Luce, because we got some boats going fast.
Thank you very much, Kay. Always nice to hear when one of our drivers is all right. Ed Preston walking back into the pit area right now, holding his helmet, walking with boat owner Larry Lynn. The GP20 Trust Company. Been a tough season. Been a tough day. If I can quote Larry Lynn, his comment to me was it's going to be a long off season. That's a tough one. But the race goes on and the competition goes on. We got Grand Prix out on the water. I missed one of them, but I saw Greg Hopp in the GP15A and G Metalworks. Dean Cull and Three Frogs Beer is out on the water. That is the very low-profile yellow boat. I mentioned this morning, if you remember, Bo Scheid and the Alamo. That would be that hull. It is an old hull. It is built by Jamie Auld and one of the more famous race boats on the water. We also have out there right now, we have the GP10, the Charger, sponsored by El Centro Ford, owner Dean Rojas out of Lake Havasu City, Arizona. We also have the GP7 Premonition. The boat is owned by Bruce Brown. It is John Griggs behind the wheel. Hammock Construction. And as I mentioned, the Staudiker hull, the GP7 Premonition, unfortunately, it has gone down in the water. Just about the apex. Just past the apex buoy of turn 2. We'll get the guys on the radio in the corral and tell the other two drivers. They will make sure that Kent Henderson is aware and Greg Hopp that that white boat, the Premonition, is down on the water and on the race course. Here comes the hopper through the top end of the race course. Whoa, and he's going to go all the way outside of John Grigg. Gave him plenty of room, knew he was there. A message will be delivered. Message will be delivered to Kent Henderson by, of all people, Bert Henderson, who is here this weekend. Good to see Bert. Had a nice conversation with him here just a couple of minutes ago. He will go inside John Grigg. So it's been a bit of a tough run here for our Grand Prix America hydroplanes presented by Knighton Industries. Had a couple of boats go down, but clearly the most difficult time was had by the GP20 Blown Income Racing. Kent Henderson decides he'll find out exactly how long it'll take him to get off that exit pin and all the way down to the start-finish line as he hammers the boat up the top end of the race course and drove it hard down there. He's talking to his radio man. They will record the amount of time it took. See if Greg Hopp might do something similar. And there he goes. Greg will put the foot in it, and he'll run hard to the start-finish line. One thing about that timing, Mark, it doesn't make any difference what lane you're in. Once you square up off the top end of the race course, The distance, of course, is the same to the start-finish line. That will be a key to the starting procedure. So we're a little bit behind the 8-ball here with our GPA presented by Knighton Industries Testing. However, we've got the GP79 back in the water. Bad Influence Racing. Jeff Bernard has been out in that boat a couple of times already today. Jeff Bernard had a good season driving for owner Mike Grindell. The reliable Diamond Tool is the sponsor of the GP79. Ready to. Greg Hopp's going to come back to the pit area. Kent Henderson decided to make another hard charge to start finish. San Diego Bayfair would like to thank HomeStreet Bank. HomeStreet Bank is the proud title sponsor of the San Diego Bayfair. Stop by a HomeStreet branch today and find out why they are community driven. For 100 years, HomeStreet Bank has been your community bank. We have new branches popping up all around the country. Check us out today. We're Unlimited Hydroplane Racing's biggest fan. Root on the Miss HomeStreet this weekend on Mission Bay. Thank you, HomeStreet Bank. Bayfair would also like to thank Davies Electric. For more than 25 years, Davies Electric has been supporting San Diego Bayfair. Thank you for helping make racing on Mission Bay possible. Fans, you can get the inside scoop by following San Diego Bayfair on Facebook and on Twitter at SD_Bayfair. Also, check us out on Instagram. Tag your posts with Bayfair. The San Diego Bayfair would also like to thank Ahern Rentals. Ahern Rentals is your first choice in equipment rental, family owned for more than 50 years, quality equipment, and servicing all of Southern California. Ladies and gentlemen, I've made the comment a couple of times today that those of us who do not reside in this beautiful area you have here are very, very jealous of where you get to live. But I think it's incumbent upon all of us who are here, and especially here this weekend, to take care and respect this wonderful property. And thus, a big thank you to the San Diego Parks and Recreation Department. Please help them out this weekend and take good care of Mission Bay Park, the finest aquatic park in the nation. San Diego Parks and Recreation make good things happen so we can all enjoy the park. Personally, I like that line, the finest aquatic park in the nation. They get my vote. Thank you, San Diego Parks and Recreation. GP 79, the Miss Ready 2, reliable Diamond 2 will make us some big noise on San Diego's Mission Bay. Water conditions absolutely ideal as Jeff Bernard takes to Mission Bay in the GP 79 for Bad Influence Racing, the Miss Ready 2, reliable Diamond 2. Boat driver Jeff Bernard, boat owner Mike Grindell.
Brad, I was able to grab Ken Henderson in the GP10, the Charger. You went out earlier this morning. You went back out again today. Here in the pit area, the water is pristine. But I did notice something. Every time you'd make that run down to the start-finish line, it seemed like you were feathering it or hitting some rollers. Can you put our fans into the cockpit and tell us what the course is like right now?
The course is calm. That's just me getting to know the boat. So we came around to do the timing run from the exit to the start-finish line. And when you hit it to do your timing run, so to figure out how you want to hit the start line at the top speed at 0, you pick a spot on the course, and I hit the spot, but I was still turning, so as soon as you accelerated it, you wanted to pull it left. So you had to kind of let off to get it to go straight again. So that's just learning pains on the boat, but the water still looks pretty beautiful.
Well, it's interesting. You see that when you're driving the boat, you have to let off the throttle that helps you steer the boat around. Not only is it the fin that helps you get around, and it's the steering, it's the driver. It's a combination of all of those. Tell our fans at home and our fans that are here in San Diego exactly the horsepower that you're going to be behind the wheel on.
I think there's about 1,400 horsepower in those motors, so they are very powerful. So when you're doing about 40 or 50 miles an hour, and then you want to go from 50 miles an hour to 140 miles an hour, that's a lot of power in a propeller. So you have to be prepared to know what that's going to do.
Well, this weekend you've got a lot of competition, some really close competition. Who this weekend are you the one that's going to be watching out for? Who's your biggest competition here in San Diego Bayfair?
Well, I think the 79 has done really well this year. Obviously the hot boats, and they're pretty quick, but it looks like the 79's been the boat to beat this year, so that's the goal, I guess.
All right, Kent. Well, we're going to watch that 79 because I know as a driver, you're going to watch the other boats that are out there to see what they're doing. It's kind of like a quarterback on a football team. You're not only watching your team and helping your team out, but you've got to keep an eye on the competition.
Always have to know what the others are doing, so.
All right, well, it's looking forward to seeing you. One of our Canadian A's out here made it across the border. Good to see you, Kent. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you this afternoon. I'll let you put your eyes out onto the water. Brad, we're going to bring it right back to you.
Thank you very much, Kay. Watching Jeff Bernard drive The GP79 hard through the lower corner, slides it out to about lane number 2. Jeff putting on a good show. This boat is really, really fast. It's really, really strong. And if you come on a pit tour or get down to the pit area, which I suggest you do, come see this one. It is a beautiful Grand Prix America hydroplane as Jeff pulls his foot. I think Jeff will bring it back to the pit area. Gives us an opportunity to thank Janelle Engineering. And Janelle Engineering congratulates San Diego Bayfair and especially honors our military members for their service. We build, service, repair, and upgrade fuel facilities. Welcome race fans from Janelle Engineering. And I think we all can second their comment there about honoring our military members for their service. Thank you for all you do. United Services is proud to once again partner with Bayfair. One call to United Site Services does it all. Located throughout the United States, call us first. United Site Services.